This is a story that might take place in a mine, a shipyard, an oil field, or in any other industry. But it takes place right here, in a steel plant, because this is where Fred Williams works. Fred's story isn't different or unusual, but it is interesting, because it could have happened to you or to me.
My picture was in the plant magazine yesterday. I never thought I'd come that close to being famous. The gang kidded me about that hero stuff. Said the picture looked like something out of the Rogues Gallery. But I told them that they were jealous, that's all. Especially when the boss stopped by to shake hands with me. Oh, it wasn't worth all that fuss. Except to Harry Newman, maybe. There is a difference between having two good feet or having only one. At home that evening, Carol found the paper in my back pocket. Mary spotted the picture right away. Said I looked downright handsome. But, you know, I almost wished I hadn't shown it to Mary. It made her start to think all over again. It made me think, too. Here I was, saving somebody else's foot, and I hadn't been smart enough to take care of my own. Somehow, in my mind, I always seemed to divide time as before my accident and after my accident. Before my accident, well, I was pretty much like the rest of the fellas. We took our jobs and our feet pretty much for granted. Oh, we didn't believe in taking chances, but sometimes it seemed the company went overboard on this safety business. Safety rules, safety glasses, safety shoes. They told us about it every chance they could get. Showed us, too. They showed us the shoe that saved Bill Judson's toes. A heavy box of spare parts fell from a lift truck, right on Bill's toes. Didn't hurt him at all. He was lucky. Of course, fellas like Bill should wear safety shoes. Bill always was a careless worker. Now, don't get me wrong. I was all for safety shoes, but you know how it is. After working at a job for 10 or 12 years, you sort of figure nothing can happen to you. But it did. And when I least expected it. It's a funny feeling, waking up and not knowing where you are. Everything was hazy. And then I remembered. My foot. Well, that one was all right, but the other. I wanted to know, and yet it was hard to ask. Then the doc told me. Well, there were 3 toes I'd never have to worry about. 2 where there used to be 5. I'd limp for the rest of my life. They say I made a quick comeback. Mostly it was getting used to the idea, realizing that I couldn't do things quite the same anymore. And then, one day, I went back to work. Gosh, it was good to be back, seeing the old gang again, especially getting the feel of the old job again. Everybody was swell. The boss said, take it easy. I guess I was more self-conscious than anything. But lucky for me, when a few things went wrong at first, the boys pretended not to notice. Pretty soon, I began to get over it. And before too long, I was in the swing of things again. Just like before my accident. Well, almost. The bowling team had to get along without me. Their loss, of course. Funny how I used to take that for granted. Oh, well. I noticed something else. That a couple of other fellas around the plant limped too. Like old Jake. Then there was Pete Adams and Casey over there. All toe accidents. I remember the doc saying that more than 60,000 guys like us hurt their feet every year. Once was enough for me. I didn't want to take any more chances. One of the first things I did after getting back was to go down to the company safety shoe store. I was in a hurry. I told the clerk I wanted a pair, size 10. 10 what, he asked. I guess I must have looked surprised. Because then he explained something. That the length of a shoe is important, sure, but the width is just as important. And he had 10A, 10AA, 10B, 10C, and a lot more. So he'd better measure and find out which size was right for me. We got to talking about things, about how differently all shoes fit these days. We could both remember not so many years ago when every pair of shoes had to be broken in. We limped around for days, got blisters and corns. But like the clerk said, there's no excuse for that anymore, in safety shoes or any kind of shoes. Today, all shoes can and should be comfortable. Most sizes they have right in the store, but if they can't fit you there, they'll order them. I never knew there were so many types of safety shoes either. Different ones for different jobs, men and women. Not only for us here in the plant, but for everybody. In all kinds of jobs where something might fall on their toes. Gosh, I didn't mean to be taking up so much of that fella's time, but he didn't seem to mind. Seems they wanted people to take their time, to get shoes that would be comfortable as well as safe. Comfortable shoes make a man feel better, even help him do a better job. Well, somebody else was getting safety shoes, too. That was a surprise. Charlie Swanson was the last guy I'd have expected to see here. Bet my accident had something to do with that. A lot of the other fellas around the plant had switched to safety shoes, too. Bill Sullivan was sporting a new pair. And so was Len Jackson. Of course, I couldn't have expected anything to affect Harry Newman. Harry was a nice enough guy. I liked him a lot. And it was a funny thing. He was so careful about everything else. The tools he used on his job, his workbench, and the way he took care of it. Kept it all cleaned up and shiny. And put things away where they should be, even his wristwatch. But when it came to his feet, Harry had a lot of excuses for not wearing safety shoes. And all of them were old as the hills. He didn't need them. He was careful. They were heavy. They made him tired, and nothing ever happened to him. Besides, he had to wear out his old shoes somewhere. Couldn't afford to just throw them away. Talking to Harry was like pouring water on a duck's back. I remember at one of our safety meetings, he dusted off that old excuse about not being able to afford safety shoes. Made quite a point of it, too. But the safety man had the answers. He said safety shoes cost just about the same as regular good quality work shoes. Usually, they're even less, because most companies sell them at cost. And then he wrote a couple of words on the board that opened our eyes. Shoes that are built for the job, he wrote, last longer. Actually save a fella money. That made sense. As the safety man said, the fellas who work around oil could bear him out on that. They know from experience that a pair of safety shoes with a sole that resists oil wears and wears and wears. Then the safety man asked, could we afford not to wear safety shoes? He asked if we ever tried walking with a fractured toe or spent a couple of weeks in a hospital, flat on our back. Did we think any amount of compensation could make up for the pain? Sure, he said, the pain can be erased. It doesn't last forever. But sometimes a crippled foot does. Then he showed us what he meant. He had some pictures of men who'd been hurt. Joints so crippled they'll never bend again. Sometimes toes and legs gone completely. He said, put yourselves in the place of these next three pictures. A lot of fellas, he said, can't handle their old jobs after they get back from the hospital. But whether they do or not, getting around is bound to be harder. Feet are mighty important when it comes to making a living. That safety man was talking good sense, and we knew it. But he wasn't through. He had a couple of shoes up front that he showed us. One was a regular shoe, the other a safety shoe, like the one I was wearing. What's the difference, he wanted to know. A good safety shoe is built to stand up under a lot of hard wear. It's made of good leather with good quality soles and inner soles. Now, a lot of regular work shoes are well made too. But here's something they don't have. The steel box toe. That's what makes the safety shoe. This cap of steel fits into the shoe, right over the toes. A regular shield against blows and pressure. This steel toe is anchored with a flange between the outer and inner soles to help prevent it from tilting or shifting when struck a heavy blow. Then, because someone always comes up with the excuse that this steel toe makes safety shoes heavy, the safety man actually put the steel toe on one side of a scale and a pair of glasses on the other. They weighed the same. 1 ounce of safety, he called it. It might not seem like a lot, but it can make a whale of a lot of difference to your feet. Here, he said, let me show you what I mean. He had a picture of a test they made to show the difference between a regular work shoe and a safety shoe. First, they put a regular work shoe down alongside a track. Then rolled a pair of railroad car wheels over the toe. It was smashed flat. Then they did the same thing with a steel cap safety shoe. Put it down on the same track, in exactly the same place, and rolled the same wheels over the toe. What a difference. There wasn't even a dent in that safety shoe, thanks to the steel toe. There was the answer. That steel toe, that ounce of safety, made all the difference in the world. Brother, that convinced me. And I'll bet it even made an impression on Harry. That's why I couldn't resist a parting shot on the way out. I told Harry he didn't have to worry. The kind of safety shoes they make now are good-looking enough even for him. As a matter of fact, that's when I first got the idea of pulling a gag on Harry in the locker room next day. You see, Harry and I wear the same size shoe. So I fixed up an extra pair of my safety shoes, set them right next to my regular ones that I'd worn to work. The guys knew I was up to something, but they didn't know what. All they knew was that it concerned Harry. Well, I waited until he had his shoes off. Then I called him over. I'll bet you a quarter, I said, that you can't tell the regular shoes from the safety shoes. Just look at them from here, I said. Which ones are the regular shoes? Can you tell any difference? You sure, I asked? These are the regular shoes? They're all yours, Harry. Try them on. See what you got. Soft toe. You lose, boy. These are the regular shoes. You picked the safety pair. He took it like a good egg. And with those steel caps on his feet, it didn't hurt him one bit when we tromped on his toes to show him. Go ahead, walk around in them. See if you can lift your feet. Harry was a little burned up at first, but he was a good sport. He went into his act. Pretty soon, he was enjoying the whole thing as much as we were. Just then, Bill Andrews came in. Said the boss wanted Harry in a hurry. Rush job somewhere along the line. Never mind the shoes, I said. Keep mine on. You can give them back to me afterwards. Afterwards. If I had only known what the next few minutes were going to bring. It was a rush job, and Harry was working fast, not being as careful as he should. He didn't notice one of the heavy steel parallel bars had caught. Look out! You can imagine how we felt when we got Harry into the first aid room. We looked at the shoe first, the minute we got it off. It was only scratched. And then we looked at his foot. Well, that's how it happened. Harry's foot wasn't even scratched, just because he happened to be wearing my safety shoes. For that, they call me a hero. Maybe so. Things might have been different if someone had done the same for me. I might not be hobbling around today. Well, I still say this is a picture of a pretty good-looking guy.